Hello there, microbiome nerds and those interested in the foundations of health through gut health. So I'm going to share my screen here. I believe this will be our final and last segment of the nerd meeting conditions. So we're going over conditions A to Z and outlining how gut health influence, and then just bringing in some clinical experience where we can. I highlighted a couple maybe we need to just talk about a little more closely. And I'm going to use a slide here to just illustrate better what we're talking about when it comes to dysbiosis. And, you know, we're looking at, let's make it a little bigger for you. We're looking at, you know, a healthy gut versus a gut that has metabolic endotoxemia. And, you know, this is the healthy gut is the ideal with, you know, gut integrity, and the leaky gut is really where the majority of the population will fall on some spectrum of leakiness, some spectrum of how much metabolic endotoxemia, and the endotoxin that we're focusing on is the lipopolysaccharide. So when we're talking about dysbiosis, this is an illustration of a dysbiotic gut, meaning that, you know, dys is bad and bios is life. It's got bad life in the gut. And what's really referring to is that it is shifted toward the undesirable organisms, and the desirable organisms are in a lower ratio. And the undesirables are going to be those organisms, most of which already reside in the gut, but they've been given a foothold and they are now outproducing the good guys. So it many times it's just the environment that changes that creates a condition that's more conducive for the growth of overgrowth of undesirable organisms. And what we want to do is shift that back in favor of the good guys, you know, those organisms that give us more benefit and keep us healthy. So that's a quick explanation of what dysbiosis is. And, you know, the idea is we want to shift, you know, the organisms in the favor of the good guys. And, you know, what Microbiome Labs program in doing that is the total gut restoration, and, you know, putting the you know, the sheriff, putting him in town to sort out who the good guys are and the bad guys, and then feeding the good guys so that the leaders step up, called the keystone strains, and then restoring, you know, cleaning up their home, which is the epithelial cell wall, you know, and the mucin 2 layer to protect it. So, you know, people, you know, this can be any GI symptom. It presents itself differently. You know, we're definitely talking about just, you know, a gut phenomena, and it can be, you know, short term, which is usually like an antibiotic disruption, or it can be long term. You know, maybe, you know, birth, C-section, or a stressor, just environment, you know, glyphosate exposure, agriculture, occupation. So there could be, you know, it can present differently. Yeah, that's kind of what we covered there. So now H. pylori. So, you know, when we talk about different sections of the gut, and, well, we can find another diagram that illustrates this better. Let's see, without being logged in, how much we can find out, because the Scheim testing includes the stomach, and that's the best way to study the different sections. It's not what I was looking for. I did see a Shime on the website where it's laid out. Yeah, well, maybe I have to be logged in to see all this. But the idea is all of the sections of the GI tract are related. So if you can reduce inflammation in the gut, you can improve the stomach, the immune system of the stomach. If you have H. pylori, generally the pH barriers have been disrupted, and that creates a better condition for the H. pylori to grow and start taking over. And that's where the treatment of the whole is going to help the individual parts. And when you start putting back the pH barriers, then these organisms know what section of the gut they're supposed to live in. It's like their zip code. So again, depending on how many upper digestive symptoms they're having, will give you a clue of what product to start them with. If they've had a lot of severe burning of stomach acid and they really have just raw tissue, it's not a good idea to jump in with Megagard right away, because the ginger is a hot herb and it might burn, that raw tissue that's been damaged by the stomach acid that's dysregulated. We find that in more situations than not, there's not a lack of stomach acid, or there's not an overproduction of stomach acid. It's generally a dysregulation. The stomach acid is being overproduced when they don't need it and underproduced when they do need it. So you want to bring back the proper function of the stomach, and we can do that by calming down the immune system, the nervous system, improving the diet, and then start introducing some of these herbs that play an important role in, establishing the pH barriers, dealing with, H. pylori, bringing it into balance, dealing with the bile so that it's being produced more consistently, and keeping the environment stabilized instead of being overgrown. So that's just to hit more specifically on that H. pylori. And then another area that we hadn't hit very well in the past, or the last one, is weight gain. And of course, there's a lot of different reasons people will gain weight. And, it can be, again, short-term or, lifelong struggling with weight. And so that, the considerations, hormonal, especially with women, they will fluctuate in their weight depending on what season of life they're in, childbearing, postmenopausal, all of these things will affect weight, stress, diet, exercise. And now more than ever, we are realizing the tremendous effect that our gut organisms have on our weight. So we're seeing that these, the Firmicutes, versus the Bacteroides organisms actually determine our metabolic rate. So, for those things that are not typically, hormonal or stress, some of these outside external effects, um, the internal effects have a lot to do with our gut bacteria. And we're currently doing a clinical trial right now and on weight loss. The super duo that they're talking about here is really that the prebiotic and the megaspore effect primarily. And the preliminary results that they're seeing is that the visceral subcutaneous fat uh, and lean body mass severity, or lean body mass, is what they're studying, and it's showing significant decrease in visceral fat mass and increase in lean body mass in 90 days. And that's being done at the University of North Texas. And that's Dr. Farland's lab. And he is the one that did the original metabolic endotoxemia study. So more than likely, what he's using, that he has used in the past, are the students there at UNT in Denton. And this is a great, preliminary result. And this is, how the best way to look at fat mass, because, we've long since realized that even thin people can have fat, visceral fat, and it's the reaction of the body many times in a depository for toxins. So for those individuals that are gaining weight, they will gain weight around their internal organs to protect them. This is an adipose tissue that is filled with toxins, and the body, is supposed to be processing these toxins, but if it's not processing them correctly, it's going to store them. And so the gut has a lot to do, the combination, the synergistic relationship between the gut and the liver in processing these toxins is really important. So when you're improving the gut health, the body has this sigh of relief. And it's like, finally, you're going to help me release all these toxins. And that's how you can reduce that visceral fat mass, like fatty liver is one example of that. So, that's directly how, the release of toxins is going to help, but then also, good gut health to change that ratio between the Firmicutes to the Bacteroides will then be able to take place when the body feels, safe, comfortable, it's not having to fight a war, then it's able to start doing some, you know, construction, internal construction and changing these primary ratios of bacteria is important, is that next step. So I see, Cheryl, you've joined me. Do you have any questions about those? I tried to hit some final conditions on our NERD condition focus. And I think that's probably going to wrap it up on this series. So you don't have to limit your questions for those areas that I covered today. Pretty much anything that has been on the list is open game.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a couple of things. Your thing about weight management is very interesting because I personally have had challenges most of my life trying to keep weight off of me. And I still don't have my biome test results back, but I've been doing the intermittent fasting, trying to do keto, cleaning up my diet, with some of these other health issues that I have, and I have dropped some weight. But I was just wondering, is this something that that once the gut is balanced from the TGR protocol, that this should continue to help keep some of that weight or that excess fat off of the body?
Yes, because I think what you will see from the BioMFX test as well is, is the keto diet really appropriate for you? Very few times do we ask, what is the best diet for our gut bacteria? Not what is the one that's being promoted um, as, the popular or fad diet or um, most evolved in our scientific understanding. It may come down to, if high protein is creating toxic byproducts in your gut and your body is not processing it, it's continually storing fat. So that will be important information that you'll receive back. That will fall in line with really how is your body's organisms adapting to your diet, and then also how is it really adapting to, when you look at alpha versus beta diversity, um, you know do you have a diverse enough gut? Are you really focused on a variety of diet to keep and maintain a large diverse population, and is that population working for your lifestyle, the amount of stress you're under, where you live? So there's other factors that will kind of bring into um, the mix that you can consider and tweak and optimize, um, because I think we've really underestimated the role of these organisms and their control over our mind, our body, and our behavior. And I think by giving them more um, awareness and um, uh, bringing them into the mix, or understanding how they affect us and tweaking that, will make a difference. Hello, Chris.
So
Go ahead, Cheryl.
uh, is there um, a source for us to learn how to interpret the biome test results and how that impacts what you were just saying? That I know for me, I feel better since I've been doing this particular um, protocol, cutting out the sugar. I do eat, a lot of more fruits and vegetables, with protein and higher fat, and have been trying to get off of the junk. Well, I don't eat a lot of junk food, but I did eat a lot of potato chips, and so I've been cutting that. I've cut that out. But okay, so that's on their website, correct?
Yes, yeah. So on the BioMFX website, this is a great tool. The interpretation guide is going to go
Okay.
deeper into the explanation, and then the recommendations are going to help you with lifestyle changes. Not only
Okay.
supplements, but diet recommendations, exercise recommendations, stress recommendations, that you can put together a protocol for yourself to help you work more optimally with the organisms, make peace with them so that you can get along better.
So are these same, is this same information available to clients, or would this be just for us to learn so that we can then communicate this to them?
Now, this is open on the internet, and we've
To,
done it that so that depending on how interested your client is, they can get a surface idea
mhm.
by watching some of the short little videos, or they can really get into the weeds if this is
Okay.
something they're really interested in.
Okay, that's good to know. The other thing I wanted to ask you, thank you for that link. Um, what I have been noticing, particularly with the fasting, is that, and maybe because I'm, doing these changes to my gut, I feel sometimes a lot of heaviness in my legs and just exhaustion. And I just got the Mega IgG, and I took 2 of them after lunch, and I realized that in the later part of the afternoon, a lot of the exhaustion, it seemed to have lifted. Would that be because it's reducing some of the inflammation that may be a side effect of changing my gut microbiome?
Absolutely. You know, we know the function of those immunoglobulins are to neutralize toxins. If you neutralize the toxins, there's less damage to the epithelial cell wall. Less damage is not eliciting the immune system, so there's going to be less inflammation. So that's the cycle. That's how it's working, and it's great that you're feeling the benefit.
Is this something that I mean, can people take this indefinitely, or is there they're supposed to take it for so long and then stop?
Yeah, the idea is to take it temporarily so that you're giving your body a break to be restoring and healing. Because if you use it without doing the healing part, then it's just a drug, and we don't want to depend on it. So use it to while you're doing the program and you're making all the changes, and get that so that the gut is it, maintaining the integrity of the gut self-sufficiently, because the idea is not to stay on these products forever. It's to give your body the tools it needs to heal, and then maintain yourself. That's you know the the hallmark of good products, ones that really work. Otherwise, we're just duplicating a pharmaceutical company designed to keep you on products forever. And that is not our goal.
Okay, so it would be appropriate then to take the IgG while I'm doing the TGR. Is that correct? Did I understand
Yes,
that correctly?
yes.
Okay, and then then I stop that, and then when I do maintenance, or when a client does maintenance, would there be an appropriate time to go back and revisit it for a short period of time?
Absolutely, because we know life situations happen. And if it's something that you can use PRN or as necessary, if it'll knock out a short-term stressor to the body, then that's great, because you don't want the body to
Okay,
experience the stress long term and cause more damage, and then you're back into that vicious cycle again and have to start all over.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Chris, if you can hear me now, what we've done is we've concluded pretty much all of, unless you can think of additional conditions to add to the list. Um, we're opening it up for questions for anything that's on the list or anything that should be added to the list.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Something I wanted to mention to whoever was just asking the questions, I guess it was Cheryl. How much are you moving during the day when you feel that heaviness and fatigue? What's your activity level? What are you doing? Are you sitting most of the day? What are you doing?
I move about quite a bit, but a lot of times it's when I'm walking, or if I'm doing, some other things. I've had some challenges over the last year, and not
Do you
really
have
sure what's
a
causing it.
thyroid or cardiovascular issues?
I don't have cardiovascular. The doctor that I'm seeing has been changing my thyroid medication around, and I've been wondering if that hasn't also affected how I feel. I don't have Hashimoto's.
Oh, you have Hashimoto's. So
No, I do
Hashimoto's,
not. I do not
oh, you
have
do not.
Hashimoto's.
If you bend over and take your thumb and push into your calf, right where the bone is, hold it for about 10 seconds, and then take your thumb off and tell me what you see.
Say that again.
Bend over, take your thumb, the ball of your thumb, push into your calf, right where the bone is, and hold it for about 10 seconds, and then let go, and then tell me what you see.
That's kind of challenging to try to do that. Into
Why
the
is it
bone or
challenging?
into the muscle?
No, it shouldn't be challenging at all. Are you unable to bend over?
Yeah, I can bend over, but when the calf is the muscle, not a bone. Where's the
Well,
bone?
your shin bone. Take it for your shin.
Oh, and the shin. Okay.
Yeah.
So what am I looking for?
Tell me what you see.
Well, one
I
other
have to use another calendar that's made by the mail. Go ahead.
what other condition I did want to add, because people have, as a side effect of starting a total gut restoration, gut health, is many people report that they will actually feel less anxious before they start even feeling the gut health improve. And so I think that's worth noting here. And I know I experienced that when I started with it, and sometimes we forget about that as the years go on, kind of where we started and what were some of the first things we experienced. But that's I think that's what really solidified my decision to work for the company, was that I could feel these organisms changing, the metabolism.
Hey,
health.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
I just remembered. And you may not know the answer, but I'm sure you can find out. So I was thinking about this when I was giving my mastiff, well, you've met him, I forgot, my service dog. I was giving him the Phytospore this morning, and I remember seeing something about, because used to I was giving him Megaspore, and I had talked to Karan about giving the chickens Megaspore also, and instead of, who keeps calling me? Oh my goodness. Dang it, I probably need to hold on. I'll have to come back and ask my question, because we're trying to do a prayer. So the thing that I had either read or heard, I can't remember, is that something to do with the different types of, I'm looking at the bottle. Hold on a minute. Conformis. I think it's the Pediococcus. And I'm gonna have to get glasses. Acidilacti and the Bacillus licheniformis.
Right.
Those two are. Well, I know HE58. We have that, but that those two are different, and there's something that I guess the canine gut does not have anything resembling other than HE58. The compounds in Megaspore, let's see. No, because there's Bacillus licheniformis, and maybe it's Bacillus clausi that they don't need to have. There's one of them that they don't need to have, or that I don't think it's harmful necessarily, but I don't know. So is there any harm in giving them the Megaspore versus, I give them the Phytospore, but
Right.
you've seen my dogs, they're not
what
small.
you're what you're saying,
It's expensive.
yeah, what you're saying is correct. Megaspore is not going to hurt them, but phytospore has
Mhm.
included the organisms that will benefit them the most. So the others may just pass through. And so,
Which is the pediococcus,
correct.
however you say that last
Yeah,
word.
and the pediococcus is in there because the number one reason that dogs and cats go to the veterinarian is because of skin conditions. So that organism has widely correlated with improved skin conditions. And then with the combination of the spores, you're going to get faster healing.
So I need to double down. Hmm. Okay. Well, then evidently I need to just suck it up and double down on the phytospore, because my little one, she's had skin issues since she was a puppy, and my personal opinion on it is that she was fed Bill Jacks, and the mother was fed Bill Jacks, which is a very cheap breeder food. And like one of the first ingredients is corn, and it's not organic. And then there's just a bunch of grain and crap. It's just stuff that shouldn't be a dog food, pretty much. And so everything that is in that food, she is allergic to. She is allergic to potatoes. She is allergic to corn. She has sensitivities to turkey. So yeah, and now, 5 years later, we feed her raw. We feed her like same as him. They get the better of the foods for sure. But it's just frustrating because her little feet are all swollen, and oh well, maybe she has allergies to the St. Augustine. Well, you know what? Back before they were injected with everything under the sun, which I've discontinued that because the last veterinarian injected my service dog, of all things, in the spine. He was a substitute for my one that I've had since I was 11 years old, and then Dr. Henderson promptly fired him. Anyway, but he got uveitis afterwards, which is the autoimmune thing, and about 2 to 3 weeks later, it started showing up. Anyway, so I stopped all that garbage since then. But I think that, that and a compromised immune system for my little one, and then having the crappy food and all that other stuff, I just cannot seem to get it under control. And she's given pretty much the best that there is. So,
Well, the
I'll
one
just have
thing,
to increase can I increase the dose, or
yes, definitely. You
I
you
just
can,
feed cats food. They eat it like here.
sorry, the delay is counseling what you were saying, but yeah, you can double the
Yeah.
dose temporarily. And I do know one thing about commercial food. If it says rendered animal byproduct, do not use it. I watched a video on what that means, and
No.
in the rendering plants, they throw euthanized dogs with their collars, plastic and metal and all, and they grind it up and they put it into dog food, and it made me nauseous.
Yeah, no, I get it from a human food. It's called Texas Tripe. They're phenomenal. They actually own a butcher for the human side that is all that. Well, I shouldn't say all. That half of it's organic, and then so this is kind of like the leftovers from the butchered cattle, like the organ meat, and then just in general like beef and chicken or whatever, and it's they've got ratios on it, and everything comes straight from there. It's not from any kind of processing plant. And they grind it and they put it in these little rolls or whatever, and so it's pretty straightforward. Thank God.
I have a question. I don't have dogs, but I have a cat. Tracy, do you know of or have a recommendation for healthier cat food? Because I've lost a couple of cats years and years ago from using Science Diet, thinking that that was a good product. And I've been listening to some other stuff that was talking about Blue Buffalo products were fined $32 million for false advertising on their labels and stuff. Any suggestions? I know dog
I would
people
go
aren't
to
always cat
Dr.
people.
Mercola's website.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation because I've never had cats, but Chris has a variety of animals, and I think Mercola does address that on his site. That's what, mercola.com?
Yep, you look for Dr. Becker. She's amazing. She has Real Food for Healthy Dogs and Cats. It's an actual book. But she talks about, and they have like reviews of all the different foods, commercial wise. Most of them are crap. Don't buy anything made by Purina. I think that Science Diet is made by Purina, even if it says organic. Purina is a shady company. But anyway, she goes into like the different things to look out for. Which is pretty
Becker?
cool.
Becker?
Dr.
Becker.
Becker. C as in Bravo, ECKER.
And she's a vet?
Yep.
Okay.
She has some YouTube videos and some other stuff, but she's Dr. Mercola's veterinarian basically, so she does everything more holistically. And
Okay.
I've even talked to Dr. Mercola personally, and he's met my service dog, and so we had a whole conversation about it. Cool.
Yeah, I
guess
used to have.
thank him for having Dr. Becker as part of his team. So yeah.
Yeah, I used to have a holistic vet, and she had to close down her practice because of her own health issues. So I haven't been able to find anybody else.
Okay, well, ladies,
you
I
can
think,
give them Phytospores too, you know.
yeah,
I have been, and his coat is beginning to look better.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to increase it. I've been putting one capsule in his canned food and then just giving him a little bit at a time. But I think I'm going to need to use a whole capsule on his food with each serving.
Yeah. The other thing too, you can feed him sardines, and the oils is high in omega-3s
Mm-hmm.
with the calcium. It's really beneficial for him.
Yeah, I have done that.
Not like a whole can all in one setting, you know, like space it out.
No, he gets one sardine at a time.
Right. Okay, I gotta go, Tracy. I have my other call that started 15 minutes ago.
okay. Well, I
but
think we'll wrap up,
I'm gonna
ladies.
try to see what. Good to hear your voice, lady.
Good to hear from you
I
too.
still need to set up a call with you and Lane.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
we'll do it.
Tracy, will we get the spreadsheet?
Yes, I should have. Let me make
Tracy, will
sure.
we get a copy of the spreadsheet?
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure you're on this. Yep, you're on this. You should have had
Yep.
an access there. So maybe if I just send you this, it'll find it in your email. So I'll shoot that to you in an email.
What do you mean I should have? What do you mean I should have access?
Yeah, you're on. I've shared the PowerPoint, or I've shared the spreadsheet with you, but I don't know if that would have come to you in a email. So just in case, I'm going to send you the link, and we can figure out where it's at. If you click on that, then
Yeah, I've not gotten this. And if you're using Google Docs, I don't have a Google email.
oh, well, that's the problem. Yes, because all my stuff's on Google Docs.
Yeah. Like Chris, I'm trying not to use anything Google any more than I have to.
Well, let's see, if I download it in Word, then you should be able, let me stop the recording here.
Oh, that's an Excel